Coast TV News, First Alert Meteorologist Chris Mastrobuono with this latest edition of Weather 101. And in this week's series, we are discussing the heat index. Many times you hear us talking about, well, it's going to feel like 100 to 110 when it comes to how it's actually going to feel to us when we step outside. In light of our recent heat wave here on Delmarva, recent record-breaking heat wave, I thought it'd be a good idea to break this out. And basically the heat index is the air temperature combined with the dew point. When you factor those two numbers in, you get the heat index. So as you can see here on the top, you have the air temperatures that range anywhere from 80 all the way up to 102. And then on the left side there, you have the dew points, and those range anywhere from 62 on up to a miserable 78. The higher that number, the more uncomfortable it's going to feel. 78 is a good air temperature, but not a good dew point. In our recent heat wave, we saw dew points anywhere between say 73 to as high as 80 degrees in some parts of Delmarva. So as we put this in motion here, you could see during the daytime, we start off in the morning, temperatures are in the 80s, and they quickly rise throughout the afternoon into the 90s. So with our recent heat wave, we had temperatures as high as 100 degrees. So for example, here you have a temperature of 98 degrees. So when you factor that into, say, a dew point of 68 degrees, that equates to, well, a temperature of 105. So that's what it feels like when you step outside. When you look to the left towards the bottom there, we had dew points 74 to 76. So we had heat indices anywhere between 105 to as high as 111, 113 at times on Delmarva. So that is a dangerous heat, especially when you have it for a prolonged period of time. In fact, we didn't really get much relief at night either. I mean, we had dew points in the 70s well at night, so the heat index still at 11 o'clock was still near 100 degrees. So that is a sign of some dangerous heat that was across the area. And that prompted the National Weather Service to issue heat advisories as well as extreme heat warnings. So when the heat index hits a certain threshold, typically over 105 degrees, that is when the National Weather Service will prompt those advisories and extreme heat warnings. And those actually vary. The criteria actually varies depending upon where you're at in the country. The further south you are, there's different criteria. And here across the Mid-Atlantic, for the urbanized areas like Philly, Baltimore, and DC, the threshold for issuing advisories and as well as the warnings is different compared to here on Delmarva, but we had our fair share of heat this past week. So we have plenty more heat to go as summer is just a week or so in. So we're certainly going to see more of these triple-digit heat indices as we make our way throughout the summer. So hopefully you stay cool, stay hydrated, and keep comfortable when you see those triple-digit heat indices. Hopefully that gives you a good understanding of what the heat index is and how we derive those numbers, how we come up with those numbers. We're just not pulling those numbers out of our hat. That those heat indices, those heat index comes from the air temperature and the dew point, and that's how we get those temperatures. So stay safe, stay cool, and we will see you on Coast TV News throughout the week.